Hi. I'd like to invite you to step into joy with me as we focus our eyes on our God who is merciful and faithful to us. In the book of Lamentations, the prophet Jeremiah, it's interesting that it's called Lamentations because that is what he did. He was lamenting because he was able to prophesy all of the destruction that was going to come to Judah and to Jerusalem. And not only was he prophesying it, but he actually walked it all out with the nation of Israel, their destruction, their demise. He was the prophet that was alive while he was seeing the words that he pronounced actually come to pass. And so in the book of Lamentations, he's actually writing the laments of his heart. Cannot imagine the heartache that he experienced as he saw the nation, God's chosen people, endure hardship after hardship and destruction because they refused to return to the God of their salvation. And in the book of Lamentations, he discusses this. But I would like to bring your focus to chapter 3 of the book of Lamentations. And I'm going to read it to you. And it says, I'm going to start in verse 20. And it says, "Surely my soul remembers and is bowed down within me. This I recall to my mind. Therefore I have hope. The Lord's loving kindnesses indeed never cease, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I have hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the person who seeks him. It is good that he waits silently for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man that he should bear the yoke in his youth." And then he just continues to go on in this chapter. And it's really interesting because when you read this chapter, the first section of the chapter is the woes and the lamenting of the soul and the heaviness that he's endured. But then when you cut to verse 20, he immediately changes his tune and he begins to declare the mercy and the goodness and the faithfulness of the Lord and how he is the soul's portion. And I want to camp out here for a moment because I know that many of us traverse many situations in our lifespan while here on earth. I know that we go from highs and lows, and many a times we cannot control what is happening in our life because that's just the way life is. There are situations that begin to unfold and we are in the middle of it, and we feel like we're the prophet Jeremiah, where it is just lamentation after lamentation, and it does not feel like we'll ever be able to set our feet on solid ground again, that everything around us is miry or dirty, muddy water that we cannot see clearly through. And so I want to encourage you and invite you today to step into joy like the prophet Jeremiah, even in the midst of a very difficult time, even in the midst of captivity that the nation was enduring. He still was able to focus his heart and his mind on the God of his salvation. He did not allow the situation around his life or his nation to dictate where he was focusing his heart and his mind. He was able to express to the Father, "This is everything that I'm experiencing, but I remember who you are. But I remember that you are the God of my salvation. But I remember that you are the God who gives me hope. I remember that you are the God that renews his mercies towards me every single morning." It reminds me of the psalm that David wrote, where he's telling his soul, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, and bless his holy name." And he just goes on to say the reasons why the Father is worthy of our praise and worship and blessing and adoration. And so I encourage you today, my friend, to step into joy with me. Do not focus your heart or your mind on the things of this world. I know we have to traverse through them. Yes, we have to walk through them. We are not allowed to just stay stuck in a situation because the Father has made us more than conquerors. However, you do not have to focus your eyes on the situation that surrounds you. You can focus your eyes on Jesus. Paul says that we lift our eyes to Jesus. We focus on him, the author and the consumer of our faith. For the joy that was laid before him, he endured the cross. And what was the joy that was laid before him? You and I, and returning to the right hand of the Father. And so today I encourage you to keep your eyes and your heart's attention focused on Jesus. He will walk you through. He will not allow you to stay where you are. He is the God who is faithful to take us out to the places that he said he was going to take us. Lastly, the psalmist wrote Psalms 23, and that was David. And one of my favorite portions of Psalms 23 is where he's talking about how even in the midst of his enemies, the Father has laid a table before him so that he can sit and enjoy. And I would just encourage you to picture that. Picture you surrounded by enemies, and the Father comes before you and he says, "Child, don't even look at them. We're about to party. We are celebrating even now the victory that you're about to experience." So I encourage you today, remember the God who renews his mercies towards you every morning, who does not hold your sins against you, who does not say, "Oh, yesterday you had a terrible day. I don't think I can give you new mercies today." No, this is the God who rejoices in renewing his mercies to us as soon as the sun begins to rise. So step into joy with me today, and let's focus on the God of our salvation, the God who renews his mercies every day.